Skin Deep. Chapter 5. Winter was slowly loosening its grip on the region. It was a hard winter, and I faced a lot of challenges. You can see signs of life blossoming everywhere. It was nice to see the sun again. It wasn't all bad though. After the incident with the roofie, I kept going out with my friend. I wasn't going to live in fear. We walked many cold streets to get to those clubs, so the promise of warm weather was definitely a bonus if you wore a skirt. During our adventures downtown, she pointed out a clinic that could help move forward my transition. I have wanted to get on hormones since I was in college, and now I might have my chance. So the first opportunity I had, I made an appointment. When I called, they asked a bunch of questions like if I wanted to harm or mutilate myself. I assured them I wasn't self-destructive and I just wanted treatments and assistance with this medical journey. I have spent hundreds of dollars on over-the-counter garbage. It was time to upgrade. The day of my appointment, I sat down with a nurse practitioner and he went over my medical history. Then he told me that the state required that I speak with their on-site psychologist to get verified for treatments. After a deep long session, she looked right at me and said, "I knew you were a genuine article when you walked in the door. Your confidence spoke for you." She then signed off on the treatments, informed me about their other programs, and wished me good luck. I reported back to the nurse's desk and gave him my paperwork. He had already taken my labs, so all he had to do was call down my prescription. I felt giddy inside, but also nervous. This was it. The momentous occasion I have waited so long for. After 40 minutes, I was on my way home with the next stage of my life in my hands. A few weeks has gone by and I was feeling hopeful and confident. I was doing my best to keep my family together. In between work, I would spend time with my kiddo as much as my ex allowed. My next goal was to try and mend things with my father. He was always opposed to my choice. Even though he made little effort over the past 20 years to keep a close bond with me and my sis, I felt it was necessary to always extend the olive branch. My job was close enough to his house. This way I can take a break to sit down for a chat, so I decided to give him a call and ask if he would like to meet for lunch. My father was on the road and his phone sounded really bad, but I was able to get my invite out to him anyways. Tomorrow at noon, I get to see my father for the first time in 3 years. When lunchtime came, I was so nervous. We have always had an awkward relationship, but that was due to his past and his bias for his other family. So me and my sister felt like we didn't matter to him. I just wanted his acceptance and love. But I feel like I might be grasping at air. I at least have to try. Will he embrace me with open arms, choosing to get to know me, or will I find disappointment? I guess I'm about to find out. We met at a diner that served 24-hour breakfast. When I arrived, he was standing outside. The last time he saw me, I wore a wig, but my hair was longer now, and I had lost a ton of weight. When I approached him, he put one arm around me and hugged me quickly like a buddy hug, followed by a generic greeting. This wasn't going well, and I just got here, but I must push through this and show him that I care about him. We sat down at a clean table and started to look over the menus. The place was pretty quiet, so I saw an opportunity to start a conversation. I started with the typical loaded questions about family and work. He replied in kind and asked me what I was up to as well. The waitress came to take our order and deliver our drinks. That's when I started asking the tough questions. I could see him recoil with every question I asked, almost like it repulsed him. I didn't understand why he was treating me this way. I just wanted to hide my face and disappear into the seat. I started to cry, but he showed no remorse and said, "I'm sorry, that's just how I feel." This hypocrite of a man won't even acknowledge me as his child. He destroyed me that day, and that dark cloud I've been avoiding came back. They say bad things come in threes. I am praying that I can dodge the other two, but after today my spirits are running low. I was getting close to full-time status at my job and closing in on the 90 days. I was working hard every day despite my mood. I just put on a fake smile and bit my tongue. The hormones, however, didn't help the fact that I wanted to cry all the time, but my nurse assured me that all will balance out eventually. I walked into work a couple days later and the regional manager was there. I greeted everyone, and then the manager called me to their office. She told me to close the door and take a seat. Shit, this is definitely not good. She began to tell me how one of the tenants wanted me terminated, made up a story about how I damaged her newly finished bathtub. I told her that her hairdryer holder fell in the tub when she was removing the towels, but she only cared about pleasing the tenant. I turned in my keys and uniforms, grabbed my tools from the shop and drove away, defeated once again. I can't help but think that this was because of who I am and not what I did. My body was still noticeably masculine, and people aren't stupid, just cruel. That's 2 out of 3 so far. I, however, wasn't going to let this derail me. I have responsibilities to take care of. My daughter needs me in her life, yet my ex started threatening to keep her from seeing me if I didn't keep up with child support. So I did what I do best, adapt and survive. Within 2 weeks, I had a new job at another complex. The hiring manager spoke to my old boss and apparently left a good review. My new boss told me, "I only care about what you can do for this company. Your identity has nothing to do with your skill." I am finally getting back on track. That small hiccup caused some turbulence, but I see clear skies ahead. The hormones were starting to show some positive results, and my system was slowly balancing itself. But I have a new side effect now. Anxiety attacks. I contacted my nurse and he set me up for some follow-up labs. He then told me over the phone that because my body is changing, that my system will change as well, and sometimes negative side effects are possible. My ex has been loading me up with unwanted stress, causing arguments over the phone, and every time I had a small attack. So I started to smoke pot a little more frequently in order to counter the stress, which helps, until I ran out. In between paying my bills, child support, and rent, I didn't have a lot left over to spend on it, but I hated the way the pharmaceuticals made me feel. My ex continues to pester me daily now, so I started to bring the pot to work. Luckily, my supervisor smokes too, but he warned me that if I ever got caught, he wouldn't claim to know anything. I understood the risk, but how can I control the anxiety without it? 6 months has passed and everything was going great at work. My personal life, however, was a severe thunderstorm. No matter what I did for my ex, whether it be helping her move, repairing things around her house, or being the only one to drive her to her abortion, it wasn't good enough for her. She took our daughter and moved her almost an hour away. I spent most of my free time doing side jobs and overtime just to keep up with some form of a normal lifestyle. One afternoon she calls to discuss how she doesn't trust me with our daughter at my house, and that she should visit my mother's house from now on. Not only is she an hour away, but now she is taking away my weekends with my kiddo. I went into a full-blown anxiety attack. but this one felt like I was having a heart attack. I fell to the floor and started to pass out. All of my extremities went numb, and I was hyperventilating. Luckily, a tenant saw me through the window and ran in to help. He immediately called 911. I guess the police were first on scene. I was still out of it when he asked me a bunch of questions, so I answered to my best ability. He then asked for my ID and if I had anything on me that could hurt me or others. I emptied out my pockets and forgot about my smoking pipe. Just then the paramedics walked in. They started evaluating me and giving me a workover. After about 15 minutes, the lead medic said that my heart sounded healthy and that it was most likely a panic attack. I told them of my eruptive conversation, and she said, "Yep, that'll do it." I sat up and drank some water. Then the medic told me to sit tight because one of the officers wanted to speak with me. 5 minutes passed, and in comes the officer. He states that I am being arrested for possession of paraphernalia. He then ordered me to stand up. Then he proceeded to put me in handcuffs while reading my rights. He marched me off to his cruiser in plain sight for the whole complex to see. I was so embarrassed and disappointed in myself. Moreover, I was disappointed in my ex. There it is. Bad things really do come in threes. I did my best to stay positive. I worked hard every day just to provide for a child that was slowly being torn away from me. Now I'm going to jail. How can anyone look at me with any form of respect again?